Good afternoon, everybody. So welcome, everybody, to our closing plenary, Staying Together, Taking It Home. When we kicked off the summit yesterday morning, I challenged us all, myself included, to be bold in our thinking, to be bold in our actions, to be bold in the partnerships that we're going to build to really secure a sustainable water future for all. So the way that we're going to close out the summit is about what is going to happen once we leave the room. And what better way to do that than to hear from some of our One Water delegations. We have 13 folks who are going to come up and do a quick lightning talk about the commitment to action that their delegation is making to secure a sustainable water future for all.
As I said, I'm Deidre Dinion with Georgia Department of Community Affairs. We have a program that started several years ago called Water First Community Program. It's a volunteer incentive program for communities that are striving for environmental excellence. Water First is looking at water resources from a holistic standpoint. We're looking at from the planning, the water supply, to protection and water quality from when they discharge. So we want it from the elected officials to the planners to the actual utility directors and staff. There are 7 core requirements, as you see on the screen, that we're looking for. Watershed assessment, stormwater planning. We're looking at that water supply and protection of it. We are definitely looking for water conservation, wastewater, reclamation, and reuse. Not all communities have all 7. We do recognize some can't do reclamation, like in the Atlanta metro area, but it's based on a point system. There's a written application that is submitted. We have a group of stakeholders that review them. There's on-site visit with the communities themselves. And the reviewers are made up of their peers, their professional water individuals, nonprofit, and university. This program has been very well received. Initially in 2003 was the inauguration of the program, and I actually was one of the first communities. I worked for City of Savannah. And now we're up to having actual 29 communities that are actually designated, and I'm working with that many that are actually in the class. The class is communities that are not quite there. They're doing a great job, but they don't have quite all of it and ready for designation. And they are the ones that we provide technical assistance to. We place them with mentor partners, communities that are already designated, that have already met this challenge. They have a similar problem, and they kind of help that community along the way. It's been a great networking process, and I've had a lot of the reviewers tell me that once they've come to do reviews for other communities, they learn what works and what doesn't work, and they can take it back to their community and try it there. We're real big on not reinventing the wheel. So our holistic program is from start to finish.
Thank you. And I also want to thank Mike from the Research Triangle, who is recording all of this in a very beautiful and visual way, so thank you. So next we're going to hear from Jonathan Gano, the Director of Des Moines Public Works, and the commitment that the Iowa delegation is making today. So please join me in welcoming Jonathan.
We recognize in Iowa that there is only one water. It starts at Wayne's farm and then turns into Jessica's floodwater, where it turns into Tariq's drinking water, where it turns into my sewer water, and we turn it back to Matt as river water, and so on, all the way downstream. And we also know that when working on big things, it's best to start at the beginning. So that's why in Iowa we are building resiliency watershed by watershed, working with the water where it lands. Cities, counties, and soil and water conservation districts are joining together to form watershed management authorities to help coordinate cooperative efforts across jurisdictional boundaries. Over 100 Iowa cities are working towards cleaner water with the innovative Iowa Nutrient Reduction Strategy. And the Iowa Flood Mitigation Program has been working to protect people and property from more intense and more frequent rainfall. And more farmers and private landowners than ever are working to protect their soil and protect their water with conservation practices. But we know we need to do more. So we are stepping up in the state of Iowa by building on our historical collaborations to build one of the largest public-private partnerships through the USDA's Regional Conservation Partnership Program, of which Des Moines is a proud member, where we're able to leverage the federal investment 4 times over with local matches. We've engaged diverse communities through U.S. housing and urban development programs to deploy the framework of the Iowa watershed approach to urban and rural resiliency to more of the state, and almost $100 million in conservation practices across the landscape. The Iowa watershed approach works to both retain water in the landscape, protecting vulnerable populations from flooding, and retain nutrients in the soil where they help feed and fuel the nation. And the 4th largest chamber of commerce in the nation has joined us, demonstrating the broad community support in Iowa for cleaner water, safer rivers, and healthy communities. Iowa's assembled a team that is truly committed to working on One Water with state agencies, municipalities, conservation districts, agriculture and industry, community and business leaders, cooperatives and companies, water and wastewater utilities, nonprofits and academic experts from multiple disciplines, all working together with a model that we think can be replicated across America's heartland. So we are all working on the same ideas in the same places together. We are one team working with One Water.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jonathan. Now we're going to hear from the Kansas City Delegation, which is a bi-state delegation focused on integrated planning. And welcome Terry Leeds, Director of Kansas City Water Services.
Thank you, Radhika. It's great to be back at One Water again. I think this is my 6th one, and I enjoy it every year. Each year it gets better and better. So this year we brought a delegation from Kansas City, which is kind of the highlight for me, was putting some folks together to come and to make One Water more of a One Water effort in Kansas City. So one of the things that we are committed to doing, along with Johnson County, Kansas, wastewater and their stormwater division, as you see on the map there, it's a big watershed in the southern portion of our city, and it crosses state lines. So believe it or not, state lines are kind of visual boundaries that exist that people just can't get their heads around sometimes. If you're on the wrong side of the state line, you're just not a part of the gang. So we're trying to break that down with a One Water concept. The Blue River is 41 miles long, spans 2 states, 3 counties, 18 different municipalities. We're going to be working with our regional planning council, the Mid-America Regional Council, to pull that group together. We have a meeting, I think, in a couple of weeks with all the cities to try and get them kind of acquainted with the idea of trying to do this project. So we're broken down into 3 phases. We're going to identify different planning scenarios. We'll develop an integrated plan, and then we'll do a lot of stakeholder outreach, and it's going to take a lot of that in Kansas City. And then, of course, the success of what we do will be determined on how much implementation we get from the plan that we develop. First phase, science-based, pull together all the information they need. There's been numerous studies on the watershed and the different parts of that watershed, and pulling all this together into one document will be a good start. I think the Johnson County Administrator said, we're going to use One Water to become one community. So we'll use water to break down some barriers that have been a challenge for us in our area. So thank you very much.
So our next speaker, you all know him as Adel Hashgalil. I know him as Anaya Big Brother, and he's going to share with us the LA One Water commitment around inclusion, integration, and innovation.
Great, thank you. Great seeing you, all of you. Great to represent the great city of Los Angeles and the great state of California. We have a great delegation from Los Angeles. It's a diverse delegation, nonprofits, government, mayor's office, policymakers, different departments, water and power, engineering, sanitation, and many, many. We're all here as one delegation because we've committed to One Water. Los Angeles became great because of water, and for us to continue to be great and support our economy, we need to protect water. Our mayor said, for us to become sustainable and resilient, we need to change our relationship with water. And we are doing that in Los Angeles, and we're doing it in a great way. We're coming together, all of us, stakeholders, basically reshaping the future, reinventing the future of water in Los Angeles. We're capturing more stormwater through green infrastructure, multi-benefit projects. We're reusing more water. We're taking turf and replacing it with native plants. We are conserving more water. Last year alone, we reduced our consumption of water by 20%. Our water consumption today is the same as it was 50 years ago, and more to be done. Our commitment, the mayor has made a goal commitment through the sustainability plan and through his directive that we will be less dependent on imported water. 50% of our water will be coming from local sources by 2035. And that's a huge commitment. By the end of the year, we will finish our One Water plan for 2035. It's going to be a roadmap of what to implement. But we're doing things today. We are changing the water footprint of Los Angeles today. And we're building projects across the city, changing policies, putting new regulations, and all is being done by our community for the community. To me, it's all about inclusion, integration, and innovation. And we are connecting the dots, drops, and most importantly, the hearts. So, greetings from Los Angeles.
Thank you, Adele. So next we're going to hear from the New Jersey Delegation. And Margaret, I wanted to thank the Geraldine Dodge Foundation for supporting a group of leaders to come from New Jersey to learn together. So Michelle Putnam from the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection is going to share the New Jersey Waterworks statewide collaborative plan. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you very much. Hi, everybody. I'm not sure, wow, it really is bright up here. I'm not sure how many people from the Jersey Delegation are still here, but maybe you can raise your hands. Yeah. All right. So we have a great delegation that really is representative of a lot of what we've been talking about. We've got utility members, foundations, nonprofits, and also the regulatory agencies. The group of the delegation actually works through Jersey Waterworks, which you see up on the screen, which is a relatively new collaboration focused on this, sorry. Okay. Wow, that's louder. Okay, the collaboration is focused on a lot of what we've been talking about: sustainable water infrastructure, ways of improving, local redevelopment, community, neighborhoods, public health, and really quality of life issues. And they've come up with high-level goals, which you see in front of you. And I guess from my perspective as a regulator, they really help us do what we've been talking about, and that's reaching out and engaging with a lot of other people. And some of their goals are very much aligned, and in fact, they identified CSOs as one of their top priorities. In New Jersey, we have about 212 combined sewer overflows that I know many in the audience are familiar with what those are, but they really do represent an opportunity to, as you address them through long-term control planning, to also educate people about water infrastructure and combine the regulatory program with the local community vision and improvement. So you'll see that a couple of the high-level goals relate directly to that. Effective green and gray. I had the pleasure of actually going on a trip the first day here, and what Atlanta's doing with green infrastructure is terrific. In New Jersey, we're also supporting in Jersey Waterworks green infrastructure as part of an important part of addressing CSOs. Smart long-term control plans. These are the kind of plans that are going to be in place for decades, and they're really going to set the stage for those capital improvements we've been talking about, and Jersey Waterworks is working with all these groups to make sure that those are really effective plans. Financial sustainability. We talked about this a lot over the last couple of days, but I personally, this is one of the things I feel very passionate about as well, is you have to have enough revenue reinvested to really have the infrastructure to provide that quality of life that we all need. And finally, empowered stakeholders. I mean, this whole summit has been really personally wonderful to meet all of you from all these diverse backgrounds, and Jersey Waterworks in providing kind of that umbrella and this venue and this way for all of us to work together to really help advance water infrastructure overall and its importance to all of us. So thank you. Ooh, right.
One thing that I failed to mention at the start is we are going to be working on ending the program by 1:15, because I know a number of folks have planes to catch, and we are at the World's or the Stephanie, is it the world's busiest airport? The world's busiest airport. So just know that will be concluding early today. So next, I want to invite kind of like our sister organization, the Cleveland Water Alliance, Brian Stubb, its executive director, to share Northeast Ohio's commitment to valuing water. So thanks for making it.
Thank you, Radhika. So in Northeast Ohio and in Ohio, our One Water vision is about programming and projects on the ground. So, you know, as we think through things, we're thinking about how do we elevate the value of water, how do we elevate the conversation, and how do we do things with our industrial partners. So to that, our first commitment is a new 5-year program using biomimicry around water and water innovation. Truly a partnership. In this case, the first one is with a company called Biohabitats, University of Akron, Office of Coastal Management for our Department of Natural Resources, and of course the Cleveland Water Alliance. We have a second one with Avon Lake Regional Water. So really we want to complement the really good work that our engineers and that our gray engineer thinking does and bring nature into additional solutions. Next slide. Next thing is aqua hacking. We're hacking the entirety of Lake Erie. We'll have a conference on this next May, but we'll actually begin the hacking in March. What's fun about this is, one, we're doing it in partnership with the Gaspé Beaubien Foundation out of Montreal. We're doing it with a handful of other foundations, bringing a collective of Great Lakes stakeholders together. And then something else that's kind of fun is we're bringing in Buffalo, we're bringing in Detroit, we're bringing in Toledo, we're bringing in Toronto and Montreal. So really a collective on what is a very large watershed for us. And then the final thing that we wanted to further commit to is our Value of Water Phase 2, thanks to the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District and the Coca-Cola Foundation. We're doing a lot of work in Northeast Ohio on the real value of water, economic, ecological, societal, direct, indirect, induced values, the real workforce opportunity. So we're happy and pleased to be announcing that. So I'm not going to take all 3 minutes, but I'm going to leave you with this. Go LeBron.
You mean go Steph Curry? How fitting that the next person that I'll be introducing is Paula Kehoe, who's the Director of Water Resources for the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission, home of the Warriors. No, and she's going to be announcing the next phase of the National Blue Ribbon Commission to accelerate the adoption of on-site water reuse. And I just am so personally excited for this project, because had the opportunity to help Paula and support this work about 4 or 5 years ago when I was at the SFPUC. So.
Thanks, Radhika. We've been partners for a long time. I did clap at the end of that speech, but it wasn't for LeBron, it was for the speech itself. So just to make sure I'm clear on who I'm supporting. Anyway, good afternoon. As strains on our water supplies continue to grow, we're all looking for new and innovative ways to develop and manage local resources. And while at the same time many communities are embracing this one water approach to water management, one of the leading strategies for One Water is the integration of smaller, decentralized water systems that can collect and treat water in buildings and districts to reuse that water for toilet flushing and irrigation. And some communities throughout the country have installed and incorporated decentralized water treatment systems, but the acceleration of those decentralized systems have really been stymied due to a number of regulatory and policy barriers. So the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission is very, very excited to partner with the U.S. Water Alliance to establish a National Blue Ribbon Commission to address those challenges and to accelerate the deployment of decentralized water treatment systems. The National Blue Ribbon Commission will really tackle four topic areas. One is we're going to develop policies that are protective of public health and that are transferable from state to state. We also plan to develop a set of national guidelines for consideration by the US EPA and develop a number of new utility models for, new business models, for utilities that are supportive of decentralized water treatment systems in their community. And finally, we plan to look at and identify additional research needs in decentralized water treatment systems. So the National Blue Ribbon Commission will be comprised of representatives from public health agencies and water utilities from across the country. And today I'm pleased to announce those National Blue Ribbon Commission members, and I'm going to start from the west and I'm going to work east. So we have Honolulu Board of Water Supply, as well as the State Department of Public Health from Hawaii. In California, we have Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, LA Sanitation, City of Santa Monica, LA County Department of Public Health, the California State Water Resources Control Board, the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission, as well as the San Francisco County Department of Public Health. We'll be joined by our friends in Oregon, the Portland Water Bureau, as well as the Oregon Department of Environmental Quality. In Washington, we have Seattle Public Utilities, as well as the State Department of Public Health from Washington. We have a representative from Alberta, Canada, for Public Health Rep. We also have, in Arizona, we have Department of Environmental Quality. In Colorado, we're looking forward to partnering with Denver Water, as well as the Colorado State Department of Public Health. In Texas, Austin Water. In Minnesota, we have the State Department of Public Health in Minnesota, as well as the City of Eagan in Minnesota. And we also have US EPA, Office of Research and Development in Cincinnati, New York City Department of Environmental Protection, and finally DC Water, as well as the District of Columbia Environment and Energy. We also plan to form a stakeholder council that will be comprised of representatives from the private sector, as well as research agencies and our funding partners to serve as a sounding board to the Commission as it develops its recommendations. So please be sure to check out the U.S. Water Alliance website, as well as the San Francisco PUC website, to find out more about our work in progress. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paula. So next we're going to hear from Robin Barnes, who is the Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer for Greater New Orleans, Inc., who I've had a email and phone relationship with for like 3 years. So it's so wonderful to have you here at the summit. Yes, and so she's going to share the New Orleans, Southeast Louisiana commitment.
I'm so happy to be here and to represent the Southeast Louisiana delegation here today. This is our first time to this event, so we're really pleased to be here. We represent a diversity of sectors here at the conference now, including economic development, water utilities, higher education and research, environmental, resiliency planning and implementation, private sector water businesses, and philanthropy. More importantly, we represent a super-regional water cluster whose assets, collaborators, and businesses span from New Orleans to Baton Rouge to the coast. Our challenges are well known: sea level rise, flooding, subsidence, and our cluster is uniquely facilitated by economic development leadership. Greater New Orleans, Inc., that's my organization, the Baton Rouge Area Chamber, and the South Louisiana Economic Cluster. But there are dozens of water assets in place across the region who we are in the process of connecting to each other. And here they are. I have an announcement today about our water cluster. Just this week, we signed a partnership intermediary agreement with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Science and Technology Directorate, to further research, product development, commercialization, and economic opportunities as they relate to flood response and resilience. The Southeast Louisiana Water Cluster will serve as the outreach arm and technology broker for DHS. DHS will provide key personnel to help our region advance business development, innovation, and entrepreneurship. We know this will be game-changing for our region. We will be able to, as we are saving our coast, addressing our own very severe environmental challenges, we have the opportunity to create jobs and community health. But more importantly, we're going to be incubating and innovating on the coast and the Gulf Coast in ways that will be able to serve other communities that are also now experiencing the same challenges that we've been experiencing for some time. So we're really pleased to be a part of this whole effort and look forward to future meetings. Thank you.
So we were really honored to have a delegation from the Nature Conservancy's water team here at the summit. And so now we're going to hear from Darren Davis, the Executive Director of the Georgia chapter of Nature Conservancy.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody, to Georgia. We're so glad you're here. And wow, it really is bright up here. They weren't kidding. Let me start by telling you, if you don't know, that the Nature Conservancy works in almost 70 countries around the world to conserve the lands and waters on which all life depends. In 2014, we did a study with the support of the Rockefeller Foundation, also with the International Water Association, that demonstrated that 2,000 drinking water sources that provide water for 530 cities would benefit directly from advances in watershed conservation. Probably no surprise to all of you, it showed that there could be a return on investment. 1 in 4 would actually show positive return on investment by putting those funds into large green infrastructure or watershed conservation for the benefit of their drinking water sources. So where we are now in Atlanta is that we are working here to ask some questions to specifically dig more deeply into what that study said for Atlanta. Specifically, it said that sediment and nutrient pollution could be directly mitigated through forest protection and forest restoration. So we're asking 3 key questions now in more detailed analyses of this area. Where can forests capture and filter stormwater? So specifically, where in the watershed? How can forests meet other community needs, especially where there is limited access to nature? And how can forests better support native wildlife? Our roots are biodiversity. We wanted to be sure to capture that in this study. So thus far, the University of Georgia has conducted a spatial analysis that's available now. Georgia Tech and the Green Infrastructure Center, who some of you may be familiar with, are working with us on the socioeconomic analysis of these areas in Atlanta. And the University of Georgia will soon begin the biodiversity assessment. Along the way, we are talking with our partners because the goal here is to share this data broadly. If we don't share this data and ask that it be implemented not just by us but by others, we won't have done our job in helping bring new tools to the area. So our commitment specifically as the Nature Conservancy sits right here in the community you're in. It's a commitment to metropolitan Atlanta. We're going to produce these analyses this year. We're going to make them available because we believe that there are multiple benefits to large green infrastructure for Metro Atlanta: stormwater retention, habitat for wildlife, green spaces for people. We're going to share that information with our partners like the City of Atlanta, Atlanta Regional Commission, the Conservation Fund, American Rivers, Chattahoochee Riverkeeper, the list goes on and on. But maybe most importantly, we're going to use that study and that deeper analysis to inform the great conservation work we can do moving forward to increase watershed conservation for the benefit of drinking water and so many other benefits here in the metropolitan Atlanta area. Thank you, everyone. Safe travels.
Thank you. So next we are going to hear from Wally Wilson from Tucson Water to share his delegation, or the Tucson delegation's commitment around water supply sharing, or water sharing.
Thank you. Thank you for the U.S. Water Alliance for having us. This is our first delegation coming to a meeting of this. So, and by the way, the lights feel fine to me because it feels like home. Tucson has been a leader and an example in water conservation for 40 years. We have been working on one water type topics, but we didn't call it that. But we still have room to grow and we have a lot to learn. But what I'm going to talk about today is to expand on what Tim talked about, where we did some local cooperation with other water providers to utilize our recharge and recovery facilities to wheel their CAP allocations to them, and that reduces their groundwater pumping in sensitive areas of the aquifer. Well, this is an agreement that came about between the City of Phoenix and the City of Tucson. Now, we are one water tide because we have the canal that joins us that comes from the Colorado River. The funny thing about this is Phoenix and Tucson signed an agreement. Well, that was the headline. Tucson and Phoenix agree. And they would say, and the mayors did press conferences and blah, 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 dot, 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 et cetera. However, at the bottom, it finally said, oh, this is about water reliability. So what the plan is we have the ability to expand our recharge capacity at one of our recharge facilities. We will do that and make available that space to the City of Phoenix. Neither Phoenix or Tucson are using directly their entire allocations of CAP water. So we have excess available. Tucson has been using the aquifer as a bank account. Phoenix would like to join in. Phoenix's situation is that they have surface water treatment facilities and they don't have recharge and recovery capacity in the Phoenix area. So they will send water to us. We will store it for them. In the future, when there is a shortage and they cannot meet their demand with what is being delivered through the CAP canal, Tucson will order its water, but it'll have some of it stop on its way and be delivered to Phoenix's treatment plants. If that's 10,000 acre feet, we will then pump the 10,000 acre feet of that water that we need to our customers from the bank account that Phoenix has already been stockpiling over the years. So this is pretty monumental in the West. Like I say, it was the Wall Street Journal came out to talk to myself and Fernando, our PIO, Public Information Officer, and they were just enamored by the fact that Tucson and Phoenix actually agree on anything, but we had to tell them the whole story, and that's really kind of what we're working on right now. So maybe next year we'll come back with a delegation and we'll talk about the final steps that we're taking and to fulfill this agreement. Thank you very much.
So over the course of the last 2 days, we talked a lot about watershed scale action, and so now we're going to hear from Jeremy Diner from American Rivers, who's going to talk about a commitment to basin level collaborative dialogue right here in Georgia.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much. So I'm here to speak about Georgia's Flint River, which provides water supply throughout the headwaters of throughout its headwaters in southern metropolitan Atlanta, and it has its source in urban areas at and near Atlanta's International Airport. So when you leave today, please think about the Flint River and also think about what it means to have an airport at the headwaters, and take a look at all that impervious surface and think about what that means for the beginning of a river. Delegation from the Upper Flint Basin includes a multidisciplinary and multi-sector water managers from a variety of communities throughout the Flint's headwaters. These partners each manage one or more aspects of urban water flows with direct implications for water resource sustainability, both within their own service areas and for their neighbors in the basin and downstream. The delegates are also part of the Upper Flint River Working Group, which is a 3-year-old voluntary collaborative group of water utility and non-governmental stakeholders, together addressing drought resilience and healthy flows in the Upper Flint River system, from its headwaters to rural middle Georgia. So, despite the Flint River's humble beginnings, the Flint is one of Georgia's major rivers. It's a critically important and ecologically valuable resource for communities throughout our state and beyond. And if you spend some time in Georgia and you talk to paddlers, 9 out of 10 will say the Flint is their favorite river. So, little plug, if you're a paddler, get on the Flint sometime. So here at the One Water Summit, the Upper Flint River Basin Delegation is reaffirming our commitment to continued collaborative dialogue at the basin scale. And we're simultaneously committing ourselves to further engage additional stakeholders throughout the Upper Flint Basin, from its urban headwaters to its rural landscapes. And we really look forward to learning, the exact stakeholders who needs to be involved, and the conversation gets bigger and bigger, and there's always another stakeholder. So, thank you.
So one of my highlights in the last 9 months of being with the U.S. Water Alliance was getting to know Eleanor Allen. I think you took over Water for People right around when I came to the Alliance, and so it's been great. We've been on the journey together. We've been on the journey together. But I'm really excited that this morning the U.S. Water Alliance signed a memorandum of understanding with Water for People to really share the opportunities for our members and supporters to get involved with the work of Water for People, because I think many of our members at the Alliance see ourselves as global citizens and want to support that work of a sustainable water future, not only here in the United States, but through collaborating with organizations like yours. So thank you, Eleanor.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Radhika. Yes, it's been an exciting day because we are going to be officially working more together with all of you, even though many of you know Water for People already. So I was reflecting this morning when we talked about September 15th, imagine a day without water. Well, if you imagine every day without water, that's the world that we live in with Water for People. So the global water crisis is front and center for us. We still have 25% of the world doesn't have access to safe water, and a third without a toilet. It's seemingly unbelievable, but it's still true. And that is what drives our mission. So at Water for People, we're helping solve the crisis, and what we do is on the slide. So I won't read it to you. Many of you know our work. We're currently in 9 countries working with 4 million people, trying to bring sustainable services to everyone forever. One thing that happened that was really great in the past year, when the Sustainable Development Goals were signed in 2015, 193 countries said, yes, we're going to do this. SDG number 6 is about water and sanitation for all. By 2030, we're in. But that's a pretty audacious goal, and many countries don't know how they're going to get there, but we're more than willing to help because we have a model that's working. So our challenge for the next several years is to replicate and scale faster than we have before. Not to get much bigger, but to have more partnerships and collaboration, which is one with the U.S. Water Alliance as well. But the good news is the crisis is solvable. We all know that. We just need to get there. So how are we going to solve this? Well, we know that today the world, through aid and government funding and philanthropy, we spend about $10 billion a year on water and sanitation infrastructure to countries that haven't built it yet. And we also know we need to spend about $50 billion a year to get to 2030 and meet SDG 6. So our gap is 40 as a world. So 40 billion, that's what we spend in the US on Black Friday. It's not that much money, really. And in the scale of the world, all the global spend on infrastructure, that's less than 1%. So we know we can do this. And now our challenge is getting governments to reallocate more to water and sanitation, getting developed countries like the US to devote more to aid, and private investment as well. And philanthropy has a role, small in the scale of billions, but there's a role for us as well. And then the return on investment's great. It's 5 to 1, getting people to stop carrying water and actually work, and especially women and girls, and also getting people not being sick and being able to work, 5 to 1. So it seems like, let's just do this, right? That's what wakes me up every day, and we're working faster and faster to get this done by 2030. So our commitment for One Water is really to help link all of you to global water issues and to facilitate the link between the US to the world, because we're really paying it forward, developing utilities in other countries that, like we did here in the last 100, 150 years. And we have the knowledge and know-how, and enabling the local teams to gain that knowledge and be able to operate and maintain those systems forever. That's not our job. We enable people. And then lastly, thinking about the sustainable water and sustainable water for all, that's the U.S. Water Alliance's mission, that's our mission as well. So how can you engage? Many of you in the room through your organizations are already partners with Water for People. We have excellent workplace giving programs, and we also have 50 committees around the U.S. and Canada, for those who don't know this, where people who want to raise awareness locally about the global water crisis and they're our biggest fans, amazing people dedicated to the mission of Water for People, and also do small-scale fundraisers. And you could get your employees engaged in that as well. Or donations always welcome. Every day is a fundraising day for me now. It's a whole new world, and looking forward to working with you.
So next we're going to hear from Michael Muka from the Madison Metropolitan Sewerage District. And you are confusing me because you're not wearing one of your fabulous bow ties.
I'm sorry.
But so I just have a funny story about the Wisconsin delegation, which Michael is going to share information about. So yesterday during the delegation mixture, while everyone else was having food and wine, Michael had corralled his delegation to all work on the statewide memorandum of cooperation that you're going to share with us. So you guys are the hardest working delegation.
Well, the Wisconsin way is, let's get this done over drinks. That's what we did. So we came here to develop a statewide cooperative agreement. We're leaving with a 6-point call to action. And I would be remiss if I didn't say who our delegation is. It's the Madison Water Utility, the City of Racine, the Clean Lakes Alliance, the Water Council, Green Bay, Milwaukee, and Madison Metropolitan Sewage Districts. To get there, we needed to ask 3 questions to get to a call to action. 1, what does a successful collaboration look like? 2, what are the barriers? And 3, define what we believe in as a state delegation. I'm going to go through all 3 of those really quickly. What does a collaboration look like? We have to focus on what we agree on instead of what we don't. We have to, 2, encourage ideas and have openness and trust. 3, we have to find balance and perspectives and the people at the table. And 4, a successful collaboration involves listening more than talking. Some of the barriers we saw to a successful collaboration include institutional momentum, that there are lines drawn, political lines, there are rules, laws, cultures, beliefs, and rituals in all of our organizations. They don't align. Secondly, people play to win, to be best in the world instead of being best for the world. In other words, there's jerks out there. That's part of a barrier. Third is a lack of confidence, that the fear of the unknown sometimes causes us to not take risks. And 4th, hurry sickness. It's really easy to just keep doing what we're doing every day because we're too busy and not pay attention to the bigger picture issues. So what does that mean for us? Our 6-point call to action involves, we believe in that there's a collective responsibility, that water is all of our responsibility and we are all stewards. Number 2, we believe that we have to exude one water. Every day, every minute, every action, because then it becomes part of our day-to-day and it's no longer something different. Third, we believe we need to redefine boundaries, that water respects the laws of gravity, not the laws of politics, rules, and jurisdictions. We believe that we have to reinvent our processes, that by banding together, we produce better outcomes. And we believe in a flexible platform, that we need to take one step at a time because we really don't know what we're doing. And we learn by trying things, adjusting our strategy, and moving forward. And then number 5, we believe that we need to advocate for the public well-being, that we have to look at employing the underemployed, we have to enhance neighborhoods, we have to look at multiple benefits at what we do. And 6th, what we believe in is that we have to reimagine our systems, that connecting life systems and people is our responsibility. We have to be master integrators in what we do. So our next steps, all of our agencies are going to sign this call to action at the political level, and it's going to be the basis for ongoing discussions for us as a delegation.
So yesterday morning, we started off hearing about the One Water work that was happening in Metro Atlanta, and so our last commitment is from Stephanie Stuckey-Benfield with the Mayor Kasim Reed, Sustainability Director. Welcome, Stephanie.
Thank you, Radhika. The City of Atlanta's One Water delegation includes representatives from the public, private, academic, and nonprofit sectors, highlighting our collective work and making the city a model for sustainable and innovative water management. Through the leadership of the Department of Watershed Management and expanding collaborations, the city is advancing sustainable approaches to managing stormwater, wastewater, and drinking water while improving the resiliency of our critical watersheds and the neighborhoods affected by them. Since Atlanta's inclusion as a spotlight city at the 2013 One Water Leadership Summit in Los Angeles, we have continued to undertake innovative projects, including a major water supply program at the Bellwood Quarry, which some of you toured earlier this week, initiatives associated with the Urban Waters Federal Partnership in the Proctor Creek watershed, and a strategic action plan to scale up our established green infrastructure program. These programs and initiatives are our top priorities for the city in our quest to become a top-tier city for sustainability. As our One Water Summit 2016 commitment, the City of Atlanta delegation will use our green infrastructure strategic action plan as the framework to scale up our green infrastructure projects across the city and serve as a model for the region. Thank you so much.
Thank you again, Stephanie, for the city was such a wonderful host. So we really appreciate
year.
it. So now Mike is gonna, so I think folks know I often say we're stronger together, and this is a perfect example of it. Mike is part of the Raleigh-Durham delegation, and just this morning said, well, shall I record? And look at this beautiful living document that he's created. So walk us through it, Mike.
Thank you. So this is about ideas, not art, and I've tried to just capture the essence. So here's what I have from APA in Georgia. Water first, really a symbol of those 7 components. That's supposed to say and counting, 29 communities and counting. Kansas City, using water to unite us. So there's 2 people reaching hands across the river, across the boundaries. Iowa, what really stood out is this quote, water where it lands. So we've got the cloud and right where water is born over and over again. With Los Angeles, what resonated is that water is our past and our future. In New Jersey, I heard really a commitment to infrastructure engagement. In Ohio, it was a combination of value and action. So here's a fish saying lake hack. In San Francisco, this distributed system, I imagined rainwater co-ops. So that's what I pictured here. And they're all blue for the blue ribbon. In Atlanta, what we just heard, really this commitment to strategic innovation at every opportunity. In Southeast Louisiana, this idea of connecting clusters and how that can form a network that extends well beyond the small region. The Nature Conservancy really heard this idea of global leadership implemented at the local level. In Tucson, what I captured was neighbors matter. So here's a little groundwater and above ground treatment plant, kind of the arrows coming together. In the upper Flint River, we often hear this term economies of scale. I captured that for the upper Flint as ecology of scale, this idea of working together at a broad scale. Water for people, what really stood out to me is hope and the commitment to building those alliances and partnerships. So what I wrote up here is hope together forever. Wisconsin, what a great, how great to hear about the movement and resolve that you guys have made just here at this effort. So I captured 6 points. Here's a guy with a big megaphone, call to action. So this one I will save for the U.S. Water Alliance, and this one is going to say, how about you?
Thank you, Mike. That's awesome. So again, I want to thank all of you so much for spending the last couple of days here with us in Atlanta for the One Water Summit. You know, what we will do early next week is share out the information with all of the summit attendees of all these different commitments to action that were made today, so that everyone can sort of get more detail on them. I'm going to make 2 commitments, so maybe you could half my circle. Mike. So one commitment that and I hope you've seen this commitment over the course of the last 2.5 days, is I think one, we are committed to supporting all of the delegations that have made announcements today over this next year to, as they move those forward, to share those, to utilize our One Water Council as a sounding board as those policies and programs and initiatives get developed. We're also committed that, and we ask you all to commit that you come back next year and share the progress that's been made over the last year. And then finally, the other commitment that we have to all of the attendees is what we started sharing in the beginning yesterday around creating this One Water roadmap together, so that all of the ideas that we've talked about over these last 2 days to really accelerate this more integrated and sustainable and inclusive approach to water resource management, that we can together accelerate it so it's the new normal in every community across the country. So we have that commitment to all of you. So thank you again so much, and safe travels getting home today. Take care.